All right, strap in. Ready for a Bad Neighbors episode? I live next to three bro-type mid-20s guys who clearly all just found each other on Craigslist for a year a while back. Row homes, so we shared a wall. I'm just going to give them all names. Brad, Dave, and Sherman. Sherman. Here are some highlights. Brad's girlfriend knocking on our door at 3 a.m. to have a fight with him and then barging into our house and falling asleep on our couch. Then he showed up and they had their fight in our living room. Then she left. Then he left and came back 5 minutes later with a bottle of whiskey and drank it by himself while he sat on our stoop in his tank top. It's always a tank top. Basketball shorts, long socks, and sandals. Socks and sandals too. Very, very Brad of him. Around 9 in the morning, I heard her waking him up by screaming his name at the top of her lungs about 5 times. He passed out on the stoop. Adorable. Sherman and Dave showing up to a party at our house, uninvited, with a case of beer that turned out to be empty. What? Okay. They bragged about it to our other female roommate, who kicked them out. All three of them standing outside of our houses whenever we had a party, trying to get girls to come to their party instead. Brad crashing his dad's car into Sherman's car, which in turn crashed into our other neighbor's car. Oh, everyone was in their car when this happened. First thing out of Brad's mouth, "Sorry, dude, I was itching my balls." They all laughed it off, except for our other neighbor who called the cops. Oh, this is painful. Brad getting a DUI. Yeah, that sounds about right for all these other stories. Brad getting a DUI for crashing his dad's car into Sherman's car, which in turn crashed into our other neighbor's car and dropping several bombs during his arrest. Okay, we disapprove of Brad in so many ways. Wow. All three of them getting arrested for peeing off of their roof into their own backyard midday, faced on Easter. They narrowly escaped being charged with exposing themselves to minors since they were in plain view of our neighbor's family gathering. Brad moved out after that. Bye. And the last time we saw him, he had one of those comfy toilet seats around his neck. What? Ooh. Oh. While carrying a box of his belongings, which were a lamp, a framed picture of himself graduating from high school. Wow, I'm surprised he made it that far. Some socks, a weight, and a bottle of Head & Shoulders. This is so bro-y. Sherman making us cookies because they had a party and threw all of their trash into our backyard all night long because they ran out of trash bags. Dave sobbing in his room all night long. Oh, that's just sad. Dave getting banned from the local bar because he was on some unknown substance and repeatedly passed out in progressively stranger places and positions. Okay, someone needs to help Dave. Dave sitting on our stoop drinking moonshine. Yeah, he's crying for help. Literally all morning while holding some sort of legal textbook and telling every passing woman that he was studying for his LSATs. False. It's like when guys get a dog to pick up girls. He picks up an LSAT book. Dave also tried this on my roommate's girlfriend and her mom. And when they just walked past him, leaving us momentarily together on the stoop before I closed the door, said, "Dude, can you believe chicks are falling for this?" I beg to differ. Dave and Sherman arguing about whether or not Dave himself. Again, Dave needs some help, bro. Dave falling off our roof and landing in our very large, overgrown rose bush. I mean, I'm glad he had a soft landing, but it was a very pokey landing. Sherman getting into a trash fight / verbal argument with an old Chinese man who had beaten him to a bookcase someone else on our street threw away. I don't think Sherman reads books anyway. Sherman losing that fight. The 2 weeks in which Dave had a girlfriend. I need to talk to this girl. And was clearly lying about his job / having a job. He would actually leave his house with her every morning in a shirt and tie, sweaty as drive her to work, and come home. I actually had an ex that was secretly doing that to me. He was saying that he was going to work. He would leave. I don't know where he went. I think he just went and sat in his car or something and did not show up to work. He had to go. That was bad. Then leave again and come back with her. He would also make a big show of being a sober, healthy individual who, sometimes drank but never really got drunk and didn't really like how it felt. He usually gave you this speech while swigging from a gallon bottle of water and sweating profusely. Now Dave's crashing his car. The time Dave crashed his car in an empty parking lot while he was blackout drunk after running 3 consecutive red lights and evading arrest somehow, and then just went home, prompting the police to show up and straight up arrest him at 3 a.m. It was during this interaction that someone let it slip that this is like the umpteenth drinking-related arrest, and his girlfriend stopped yelling at the cops and started yelling at him while he just kept shouting some shit about it being mouthwash. I mean, this is like some high school stuff. I'm gonna be honest with you. And for the cops to just get her home safe. I'll sort it all out, baby, I promise. Baby, why are you crying? Oh, babe. He sounds gross. The second time Dave fell off of our roof, but this time he missed the bush and landed on the concrete and spent the next hour and a half crying like a baby for someone to come help him. Then he yelled at us for not getting there quicker. This was the day we realized we were on a first name basis with several police officers. I mean, good you had him. Sherman has his computer seized by the police. Sherman is arrested for corporate espionage, which obviously. Anyway, with Sherman moving on to better things, we now enter the Just Dave era. Oh, Dave. Some highlights. Dave forgetting which door was his about twice a week. Oh, God. Dave locking himself out almost every day somehow. I mean, if he got the wrong door, yeah, he'd be locked out. Dave, oh, I don't like this one. Dave cutting his belly open, climbing into our alley because he locked himself out and covering both of our backyards in blood. That's like a horror film. Dave getting banned for the 3rd time from the local bar for trying to sneak in one of the many rotating underage good time party bros or drug dealers. And then popping his stitches and bleeding everywhere. Dave, stop bleeding everywhere. While wearing a cowboy hat and fake facial hair. I mean, I kind of like that detail. I don't know if that was part of his plan or just some other adventure. This is also when we started actively messing with him because we knew he was moving out and that his landlord had sold the house to some young gentrifier. He was allowed to see out his lease as long as there was no more damage. That was my dog. The place was a disaster at this point and no more major incidents of any kind. So he knew the difference. We put every speaker in our house up against our shared wall and played recordings of giant turtles mating and responded to his text with, "Nah, man, no one's home, not us," until he finally flipped out and called the cops, your buddies. But we heard him doing it during a gap in the sounds, so we called the cops and said the noise was coming from his place, hid the speakers, and left. Ooh, Uno reverse. He got a citation, and so somewhere in writing, he'd been charged with playing animal mating sounds at a volume exceeding acceptable levels. What made you choose animal mating sounds? Oh. But I'm here for it, nonetheless. I would pick up rocks from the construction site across the street and place them on his side of the stoop right in front of his door. Each night, I grabbed a bigger rock until one day there was essentially a piece of debris the size of a basketball just sitting on the front of his door. My room is above the stoop, and every morning I'd been watching him move the rocks and becoming more and more frustrated. I love these like innocent enough tricks on him that just make him question reality. I did this for at least 2 weeks. In the morning, when he saw the giant rock, he finally lost it. Flipped out, screaming, pacing angrily, whole 9. The invisible conspiracy, I can't believe none of you sheep'll see kind of flip out. But then something truly amazing happened. He grabbed the giant rock and threw it directly at the facade of his house, which broke an enormous piece of some part of the building, not an architect, off. These are really old houses. This was definitely not a cheap or easy thing to fix. He just stood there staring at what he'd done and then started slamming the rock into the steps, screaming that until he sort of fell across the sidewalk backwards and smacked his head into a parked car. Dave's favorite theme is like bleeding and hitting cars. The alarm went off and he went inside. About 20 minutes later, the cops showed up. 2 days later, he was gone. How did it take that many incidents for him to be gone? No more Daves, okay? One writer wrote, it was a house full of Kevins. I would have been losing my mind. Thank you for that story.